This is the News 4 Rundown.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Hanley, and here's a look at what we're working on for you tonight. Does extreme exercise raise your risk of colon cancer? It's a question a local doctor once answered after he noticed an alarming pattern in several of his patients. Coming up, what he found when he launched a study looking for clues into why. Plus, the delicate dance between D.C.'s mayor and the White House. Sometimes the two are on the same page. Other times, the district finds itself in the crosshairs. We talked to the Washington Post reporter who got an unprecedented look at how Mayor Bowser and President Trump interact behind closed doors. Then it's a big night for a local high school basketball standout. We're live in Montgomery County, where one of the top prospects in the country has decided where he wants to take his talents this coming fall. But we begin tonight with a legal battle underway seeking to limit how ICE agents are able to make arrests in the district. It all stems from a lawsuit filed by advocacy groups, including the ACLU and CASA. They're challenging the Trump administration's policy of allowing ICE to arrest people without warrants or probable cause. News 4's Mauricio Casillas was at today's hearing. He has more now on where things stand with the lawsuit.
Well, Jim, I can tell you the judge heard oral arguments from the immigrant advocacy groups who are suing the federal government and attorneys for the Department of Homeland Security. And ultimately, the judge said that she needed more documentation from both parties before making a decision. So as it stands right now, ICE is not impacted in its ability to make arrests in the district.
A legal battle is underway in the district that could limit how ICE conducts its operations. At the center of this lawsuit is the case of Jose Escobar Molina, an immigrant from El Salvador with temporary protected status who was arrested by ICE agents while walking from his apartment in Northwest D.C. back in August. The lawsuit states he was taken to a detention center in Chantilly where he was held overnight before being released the following day after it was discovered that Escobar Molina was in the country legally. The lawsuit also includes 3 other migrants as plaintiffs who have similar stories to Escobar Molina. The lawsuit alleges federal agents are illegally and indiscriminately arresting people based on how they look and without probable cause.
We were arguing for a preliminary injunction to stop making warrantless immigration arrests without probable cause. That's the requirement under the law, under the immigration statute, that agents need to satisfy in order to make an arrest without a warrant.
News 4 reached out to DHS to ask about the lawsuit. They sent us this statement, which reads in part, quote, "Allegations that DHS law enforcement officers engage in racial profiling are disgusting, reckless, and categorically false. What makes someone a target for immigration enforcement is if they are illegally in the U.S., not their skin color, race, or ethnicity. Under the 4th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, DHS law enforcement uses reasonable suspicion to make arrests. There are no indiscriminate stops being made. The Supreme Court recently vindicated us on this question. DHS enforces federal immigration law without fear, favor, or prejudice," end quote. Lawyers suing the government say the practice of making warrantless arrests have made people in the district feel less safe.
Kids going to school in fear, people not going to medical appointments, people being arrested on their way to church or leaving church, right? So this is a detriment to public safety.
Mauricio, we know there was no ruling today, but with each passing day, there's a lot of anxiety, even fear for some people who feel they may be targeted. Did the judge give any indication about when we might learn more?
Yeah, Jim, Judge Burrow Howell acknowledged that time is of the essence. What we can tell you is that both parties have until the end of the day next Tuesday to submit that additional documentation that the judge asked for, and then the judge hinted that she could have a decision made after Thanksgiving break. Back to you.
All right, Mauricio Casillas. Mauricio, thanks so much. D.C. and Mayor Muriel Bowser have been in President Trump's crossfire for months now. Some days the president seems at odds with the mayor. Other times he praises her handling of things. Washington Post reporter Jonathan O'Connell was given unprecedented access to the complicated relationship between the two, as well as Mr. Trump's inner circle, even his chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Earlier today, he sat down with our Erica Gonzalez to discuss the exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the D.C. mayor's battle to keep Trump at bay.
This piece takes us through sort of the process of the relationship between Trump and Bowser, starting before his inauguration to the president. And many of the clashes people have either read for themselves or they have heard it publicly. But this is sort of the peel back the onion look at things that people don't know about that has made this such a fascinating read. And I want to start first with the example of the 395 tunnel that you use as an example of how the mayor has towed the line on this relationship. Can you explain to people what that was about?
Sure. In December, the mayor went to Mar-a-Lago. This is after Trump had been reelected, but before he returned to office. And, she's been hearing on TV about him threatening to take over the government, how he's calling it dirty and crime-ridden, infested, all those things. She's going to confront him and discuss some of the threats that he's making. And she goes down there and he immediately says something very similar to what he said on TV, which is, I'd like to take over the city. And she opposes that and firmly, but then she sort of pivots to your point about areas where maybe they have some common ground. So she knows him from his first term. She knows that he would like to see the city beautiful, clean, safe. He doesn't want to see tents. He does not want to see graffiti. He wants to see the lawn mowed properly. And, one of the things he brings up in that meeting is when you drive under the National Mall by the Capitol, like 395 extension there, he's been through there many times and he complains to her about the tiles there looking grimy, the tiles on the walls of the tunnel, which seems like minutia to somebody maybe who's, the president dealing with the biggest issues in the world, but it's important to him. And so when the mayor comes back, one of the things she instructs her staff to go look at that tunnel, and they end up replacing some of the light fixtures that had been turned off and cleaning them up and making sure the tunnel looks good. So you can see now, if you drive under that tunnel right now, it is bright and shiny. And it's just, it's part of her strategy here to kind of cooperate with him in areas where they have some agreement, so that she can help fight on things where they don't.
The quote that made me pause was a line from the president's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who was quoted as saying, "It's not everybody that can navigate between President Donald Trump and the D.C. City Council," end quote. Is it fair to say that President Trump has no better relationship with the Democratic leader than he does with Mayor Muriel Bowser?
Man, I don't know that I know all the Democrats about them, but I mean, of all the Democrats in the country, the only two that went to Mar-a-Lago were Muriel Bowser and John Fetterman, the Pennsylvania senator, which maybe is a signal there. He is obviously proud of the work that he's done in DC. The Attorney General Pam Bondi is proud. She's in front of the Senate. They would like to see other Democratic mayors kind of participate in his efforts in other cities, and have been largely frustrated by those efforts. But I think people need to appreciate here that obviously Mayor Bowser is in a uniquely vulnerable position. We do not have senators in DC. We don't have a voting representation in Congress at all. So, she is much more at the whim, and the DC residents are much more at the whim of what the president and the Republican Congress would like to do than, say, the mayor of Memphis or Charlotte or Portland.
And the question that just won't seem to go away is, at what length, if any, does D.C. cooperate with immigration enforcement? Your reporting details the mayor's frustration with that question, oftentimes visible frustration with reporters. In the access that you were granted, what has her stress level been like?
It's a difficult job right now, for sure. I mean, that distance between obviously the D.C. Council and President Trump politically is massive, and it does feel like either side or both are usually unhappy with her. She's been mayor for a long time. She's been mayor for 10 years, which is a long time, especially in America now. And I do think she has something of a thick skin where she, in my experience, has not gotten super excited when things are going well one day, or super down when things are going, poorly one day, and sort of looking toward the horizon a little bit in terms of what she wants to accomplish, and not, sort of just moderating and staying true to what she wants to do and not worrying so much about what happened 5 minutes ago on social media or on the internet.
With the federal surge, particularly after the mayoral order where she touted the success of the enforcement, thanked the president, residents seemed frustrated, angry even with the mayor for not resisting. But I have to ask, has she figured it out? Almost a year into the presidency, 3 to go, has the mayor figured out how to retain DC's autonomy?
Well, the emergency order expired, and that gave her back control of her own police force, which was a big moment. Some people would argue it hasn't carried that much actual weight for DC residents because, despite her having control of her police force, we still see videos and instances in which the police force is helping ICE or helping CBP or helping these deportation forces that DC residents are overwhelmingly opposed to the police force participating in. And she has really been unable to answer in a direct way what her direction has been to the police force in regards to those situations. And, I hope that our story sort of explains why. She is nervous about antagonizing the administration, which, in a way that could, lead to a further incursion on home rule. I don't think people realize, like, if the president and the Congress right now were able to overcome a filibuster by the Democrats, they could do away with an elected mayor in DC. They could do away with an elected DC council. They could put President Trump in charge of DC. It might be difficult to pass that legislation, but it's not impossible. So that's the risk that she's thinking about when she says we are focusing on our own autonomy, we're cooperating where we can, and we're fighting where we can.
There's another great line in there, and I will leave that for readers to enjoy, about the mayor asking them to trust her in the process. It's some great reporting. Jonathan O'Connell with the Washington Post, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Much more to come tonight on the News 4 Rundown, including a look at the forecast with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammer.
Yeah, we did see a lot of clouds today, and it was a quite cool day, too, even a little bit on the chilly side. That's going to be the case tonight and again tomorrow, and then we're talking about rain chances as we head toward the end of the week and part of your weekend. I'll explain coming up.
Long-distance runners are often the picture of health, but an alarming pattern caught by a local doctor. He had 3 patients, all marathon runners age 40 or younger with advanced colon cancer. And he wanted to look for clues into why. As News 4's Erica Gonzalez tells us, the doctor launched a study with the findings, raising one serious question. Does extreme exercise raise your risk of colon cancer?
About 5 or 6 years ago, I saw in the course of 6 months 3 different patients, all 40 or younger, that had been what I consider extreme runners. 2 of them had run ultra marathons that were over 100-mile races, and one of them was a triathlete, and they all came in with very advanced colorectal cancer. But to have these 3 people, all of whom had extreme exercise in common, it really sort of concerned me. And once I saw this pattern, I thought we better do a bigger study. And so that's what we did, a screening study where we would find 100 extreme runners and did a screening colonoscopy on them.
Ready, set.
I'm Laura Linville, and I participated in Dr. Cannon's study. I've run between 15 and 20 full marathons, 5 ultras, and countless half marathons.
These people are in some ways the picture of health. They have incredible endurance. They're exercising all of the time.
I saw an ad for this study, and I thought, oh, I fit the criteria of having run multiple ultras.
And so what did the study reveal for you?
For me, it revealed that I did have several polyps. They were all precancerous. They removed as many polyps as they could in the initial colonoscopy. I did have to come back. There were large polyps that they needed to have other equipment, so I had to go to a hospital for the second colonoscopy. After that, I had to go for a third colonoscopy. If you're keeping track, that's 3 within less than a year.
We expected that about anywhere from 1 to 5 of them might have advanced adenomas, but it was actually 15 out of 100 that had advanced adenomas. And that's really significant because advanced adenomas are the type of polyps that are further along on the continuum towards cancer. A lot of these runners that have had cancer have told me that they went to their gastroenterologist or went to their primary care doctor, and they were told that bleeding after running or having severe cramps after running is normal. It's just a part of running. That's runner's colitis. The issue is that we don't know that runner's colitis is not a cancer-causing event. It very well may be.
There's much more research that is definitely needed to figure out what the causal mechanism is, to what degree running contributes to that risk.
I was suspicious of the fact that once you've run 20 or 30 miles, you really have high oxygen demand in your legs. And so the blood actually comes from your gut, gets diverted to your legs, and some of the tissue in your gut ends up dying because you really have no blood flow going to your intestines. And that's understood to be a way that one can develop cancer in any organ. I want to emphasize that this study should not dissuade anyone from exercise. Exercise is vitally important, and it's very well established that it reduces the risk of cancer. But what I was wondering before I launched the study is whether or not there's a dose of exercise that's just too much, that actually increases your risk of cancer. And more studies need to be done to further understand this.
What would you say to people out there who are like you and they love to run and they love to run extremes?
There has been a study that shows this link that there could be a risk. I would encourage people to just be aware.
We should point out this study did have limitations. It did not include a control group of non-runners, and it didn't go in depth on each runner's training regimens, diet, and lifestyle habits that may have played a part. That's why more research is needed. Dr. Cannon is now expanding the study to try and answer some of those questions. Bottom line, he says this should not discourage people from running. But he says if you have bleeding or severe GI issues as a result of running, that's a reason to see your doctor and get checked. Early detection saves lives. Doug joins us now. Another dreary day. We got them lined up this week.
Yeah, we do. We saw a lot of sunshine on Monday, and we talked about the fact that, not much the rest of the week. We saw all clouds today. A little bit of sun for like an hour in D.C. That was it. And right now, well, we're dealing with some cool conditions across our area and more clouds over the next couple of days. We do have some practice going on out there, so that's at least a good thing. People getting out there, kids getting out there. Everybody wearing the sweatshirts, though, because it's on the chilly side. Temperature-wise, 45 degrees. Look at the wind, a little bit of a breeze here, and that's putting our wind chill down to 39 in the city. It is a cold night across our region. 42 Gaithersburg, 39 Winchester, 44 in Culpeper. These are the actual temperatures, and many wind chills are in the 30s right now. So just know that. If you are heading out and about, here we are at 7:30 at night. Yeah, probably in for the night, but if you're not, bundle up. You will not need the umbrellas, though. No need for the umbrella today. And no need for it tomorrow. You can see the clouds coming back in across the region. Wider picture showing more clouds coming in, but not much rain. Notice the rain back towards the west. We are going to see that rain on Friday, but not tomorrow. As we make our way through the overnight hours, a chilly night tonight. That's 11 o'clock, 36 Reston, 35 in Martinsburg, 37 Manassas. But look where we go tomorrow morning. Plenty of cloud cover. Temperatures by 8 o'clock into the mid to upper 30s. So a cold start to the day. And with the clouds, well, we really don't warm all that much. Maybe up to upper 40s to low 50s if we can get there. I am going for a high temperature tomorrow of 52, but I might have to bring that down a little bit, maybe only 50 degrees tomorrow. 58 on Friday. We'll see mostly dry conditions during the day. Now, we do have a chance for some shower activity. I think in the city and points to the north, it's going to be after the sun goes down. AM showers should be done on Saturday by 10 a.m. So that means most of your day is dry, 60 degrees with some sunshine late in the day. Sunday, Monday, both look great. Chance of some showers on Tuesday, but not a big storm. Thanksgiving right now looking good. A high temperature around 55. And Friday, well, that's the storm we'll be tracking for you for those of you traveling for Thanksgiving weekend.
Thank you, Doug. The Commanders are off this week, as you know, and gearing up for hopefully a few more wins after the bye week. Ahead of his show, All Ears, team insider J.P. Finley joins us back from Madrid. Welcome back, first of all.
Thank you, Jim.
What is the mindset of this team at 3-8 now?
It's not in a great place, obviously. This is not the year anybody envisioned. And I think for the Commanders players, they recognize that 3-8 is really, really a bad record. Not what they all expected, but they can try to turn it around a little bit, use this bye week to kind of just get their minds right and get focused on the remaining 6 games in the season. But that's what the players have to focus on. When you think big picture and you think about what was expected for Washington and where they landed, I caught up with Diana Rossini from The Athletic and Scoop City just to kind of get that national viewpoint on where Washington is now.
I know you and I have been together at the Combine and owners meetings. I know how much you talk to people across the league. What is kind of the word on the Commanders from around the NFL?
No, I'm so glad you're actually asking me this because I had a conversation with a very accomplished general manager this morning, and the Commanders came up naturally. I normally don't read a direct quote text, but this is perfect for what we're saying. He said, what's interesting about Washington is they're actually a good example of why you can't go all in. They only have a first and third rounder in 26 and then a 5, 6, 6, 7. They traded away their second and fourth for Tunsil. They have the oldest team in the NFL, and they look and kind of feel old. Not the way to build a long-term sustained winner. You do it through the draft like we've seen the Rams do. You see the Patriots are trying to do it this year, and you don't make crazy trades at the deadline. But there was a time, and even during training camp when I saw you last, where we were giving Washington credit for building a culture through these veteran players, through these older players. That the problem is, I think it ran out, right? Like, it was good for a year, maybe not good for a second year. But the belief, look, if the quarterback's healthy, this is, I believe, a completely different kind of conversation that we're having in terms of the state of this Washington team.
Injuries obviously a huge factor for Washington and the struggles. But Jim, enough about football. This is a big day. My alma mater.
That's right.
A lot of hope for the Turtles. Tell me some good news here.
Well, here we go, JP, and we're going to be tuning into all ears.
Yeah, we got plenty of football later.
All right. Well, it is decision day, as JP mentioned here in the DMV. Big night at Blake High School in Silver Spring, where a huge basketball star, we're talking 6'11", just made his college choice. He's a 5-star prospect who narrowed his list down to 4 big-time programs. Our Darcy Spencer joins us live from Blake, where the standout just made his big decision. Darcy?
Well, Jim, you know, I can't be more excited personally for this big decision because he's going to be going to my alma mater, University of Maryland. You know, he had a lot of options on the table, but, you know, he made the right choice. He says he wants to stay close to home. Let's go ahead and show you some video of when he made that decision just a few minutes ago. His name is Baba Oladotun. He goes here to Blake High School, and, you know, he was able to whittle it down. You know, initially we were told there were 4 schools that he was looking at, and it came down to 2, Georgetown and University of Maryland. Just a short time ago, flanked by his family. He had both of his parents here speaking and sitting next to him, and that's when he made that decision. Then they both opened their coats and revealed the University of Maryland shirts and hats. So a lot of excitement here at the school. Let's listen to a little bit of what he had to say a short time ago.
It's home, you know, I'm from here. I stay here at Blake, obviously, with my brothers, and I just don't think it has to be a lot of stuff to bring me out of my hometown. A lot of the best players, they weren't just raised by themselves. You know, they had a good community behind them. They had a good trainer support system behind them, and I think it's really crucial for my development. You know, since I came here in 9th grade, they've always stuck with me, like I said earlier. So it's really special to me.
So it was really a special moment here with the student and his family. A lot of supporters here. The team was here. You could see all of the excitement, as well as classmates and parents filling the bleachers here inside the gymnasium. So University of Maryland it is. He's going to be graduating from high school in 2026. So another kind of hometown hero, another player close to home to be able to watch at the University of Maryland. Just a lot of excitement. Really happy for him. A really sweet kid.
Excited for the Terps, too. All right, Darcy, thank you. Baba Oladotun, remember the name. We'll have much more at 11. Stay with us. We'll be right back.